Did you grow up wanting to be a chiropractor?
I had really bad low back pain and sleep issues growing up. So he adjusts me. I fell asleep on the table. All right, just passed out. 5-10 minutes later, I start waking up and my mom's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Hey, do that again. I need that."
What did it take inside of you to take that risk?
What it took for me, so I always had that underlying my whole life. I just knew that there's more out there for me and I have to own my own business in some way, shape, or form, because who doesn't crave autonomy? I adjust people on the street and do funny videos like that you don't see every day. And then also do like actual videos where people know what you do.
I don't have the medical education that you do, but I more or less agree with the concept of like fixing it, not putting a Band-Aid on it.
People would reach out to me and be like, should I make videos that are just clickbait for views or should I make good videos? And the answer honestly was
What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of Successful DNA. I have my friend here with us, Dr. Nick Young. Nick, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So I was talking to you before the podcast started. I found you just scrolling on social media with this concierge chiropractor type delivery in the Tampa Bay area. And you've completely blown up over the past, I think it's February and March, when you kind of went all in on the concierge piece. So we'll dive into it, but let's start February, March to today. What's been kind of the macro story before we dive in?
Yeah. So I worked full time for about 3.5 years at a very busy clinic. Just fresh out of school, learning my skills, and everything. And, at a very busy clinic, right, as a doctor, you have to be very time efficient and it's very stressful. It's very fast paced. So I was doing a lot of in and out care, selling big care plans, right? Just very, very stressful. After work, you just get home and you want to just melt in the couch. And I knew that wasn't a long-term solution. And just like any other chiropractor goes through, or really anyone in business, after you work for a few years in your field, you get to the point where, all right, I can do this on my own. What's the best way to do this on my own? So I was really brainstorming ideas in about late January when I decided to leave that office. And, I really wanted to find a more chill job, something that I truly resonates with me and that I can really get behind. And that's easier for the patients too, just a better way to give chiropractic care. And I had seen on social media that there were a few chiropractors that did concierge care. One used to be in the Tampa area and now he's in Miami. His name's Dr. Sterling. And I don't know him personally, but I see a lot of his content. And I was like, man, I could do that. That is freaking awesome. And the really cool thing about deciding to do concierge, which was about early February, March, like you said, when I kind of was like, let's do it. Let's give this a try, was that more convenience, right? Fits in people's schedule too, right? So people that work 9 to 5, most chiropractic offices are open 9 to 5 to some way, shape, or form, Monday through Friday, so they can't get in. So it doesn't mean they don't need to get adjusted. If anything, they probably need to get adjusted more because they're pretty dang busy. And so I wanted to really be able to allow a different population to access chiropractic care, as well as coming to their house. On top of that, from the chiropractic standpoint, it allows me to not have an office and have way less overhead. So with that means I can charge a reasonable amount and do longer sessions at your house or my house or a public place, right? I do adjustments at pools and rooftops all the time. So that's really what allowed me to come up with this idea and kind of execute it, was that I knew that if I put the effort in on social media and I just took ownership and was like, look, let's do this, and I just grow it organically, then there's something here. And it allows me to have my own schedule, allows me to give chiropractic care the way that really resonates with me and makes the patients happy. Because if I spend 5 extra minutes on a session when I'm a concierge doc versus 5 extra minutes in a very busy office, they are two completely different things. One will definitely throw things off in the very busy office, and in the concierge office, guess what? I'll just push back my next adjustment or I hang out there for a few extra minutes, right? That's the luxury of having my own schedule. So that's really what my thought process in developing the concierge aspect. Also, COVID was a very big aspect of remote workers, people not wanting to travel as much, people complaining about all the people moving to St. Pete and Tampa. And so people want convenience. They want just you come to them and boom, I'll pay a few bucks extra for that. And, COVID, with even it dwindling down and all that, it's still very big with people wanting the convenience and you come into their house. So that's really in a nutshell of why I started it. Was I just really didn't want to spend a few $100,000 and open up a clinic and have that be a business baby. I'd rather have my own schedule, go adjust people when they're free. I do a lot of adjustments at 8, 9, 10 p.m. And if you ask the average chiropractor, they're probably on the couch rotting or at the gym doing stuff. So it allows me to have my own schedule, get stuff done during the day, and not stress like crazy financially with overhead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you mentioned longer sessions. So I'm familiar with the more turn and burn model. Mm-hmm. Go in and get adjusted, leave real quick.
Yep.
How long is a longer session? And then what is that kind of like, what's going on during that session?
Yeah. So most people that have been adjusted before know like the pops and cracks aspect doesn't take very long. So let's say on average 3 to 4, maybe 5 minutes to get all that done, depending on where you go. So that's the normal traditional model, right? And the average chiropractic clinic is a numbers game, right? You need a certain amount of adjustments to reach your overhead to make profit, right? It's just a simple numbers game. So I do 30-minute sessions, right? If I'm coming to your house and doing an adjustment, I want you to see the value, even though the transportation, the concierge, and the convenience is already there. I want to one up it even more. I want a longer session. And what I do is I don't just do the adjusting aspect, the manual adjusting. I also do stretching, right? I used to work with a few stretch therapists at my old office who helped develop a lot of the stretch lab protocols, like PNF stretching and a few other things. And he would stretch me and I would stretch him too. So I learned a lot of that. So I incorporate that in my sessions too, as well as trigger point / sports massage / ART, right? Some muscle work. So I incorporate all those things in the same session. So if you're like, man, I pay $60, $70, let's just say that's the average price for an adjustment, for just a 2, 3, 4 minute adjustment. Well, why don't I pay a few extra bucks, have them come to my house, do a 30-minute session, and I'm getting stretch and massage, right? So that's why I think 30 minutes is a good happy medium where, I'm not spending this, astronomical time on someone, but it's still enough to where they're really getting relaxed on the table. And it allows them to be more relaxed on the table so the adjustment is more effective too. Because most people, if you get a massage and someone massages you for 2 minutes, you're like, well, keep going.
Yeah.
Like, don't stop. Like, why
no, I've always wished there was more of a service like a massage / chiropractic event. Because you're always getting a massage. You're like, hey, just push a little harder and get that crack right there.
Yep.
That's funny. So since February up until now we're in August. I'm assuming in February you started with 0 clients, concierge, and you've grown it. So let's call it July. What's a good KPI to understand the growth? Number of people you saw? Is that like how many people did you see in July?
So in July, I didn't keep direct track of it.
Yeah.
I would say on average, I've been seeing about 10 to 15 people a week.
Okay.
So if I had to give you a rough estimate, I'd have to look exactly, but somewhere between 40 to 60 adjustments.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Man. That's sick. Let's back it up a little bit and kind of go into, the early pieces of this. Where did you go to chiropractor school?
So I went to Life University.
Okay.
It's in Marietta, Georgia, pretty close to the Battery if people have been to Atlanta and know that area. So chiropractic school is a 3.5-year program. So I went down there in 2017. Actually, I had transferred from James Madison University because I'm from Virginia.
Go Dukes.
Go Dukes. Yeah. Did you go there too?
No, one of our financial team members did.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I transferred. I got some of my partying out of the system, fun like that, and I was like, all right, I know I want to be a chiropractor. Let me just transfer to Life and start the program. They had an accelerated program where I could only do 1 more year of undergrad instead of having to do 2 more years and then start the program pretty much jointly. So 2017, I did 1 more year of undergrad. And then in 2018 is when I started the chiropractic program. And then it's about 3.5 years. So in 2021, June is when I actually graduated. And then I moved down here to Tampa in October of 21. And that's when I started at that busy office.
That's sick, man. At what point did, in your life, how old are you now?
I'm 29.
29. So at what point, I'm assuming maybe you did. Did you grow up wanting to be a chiropractor? Or at what point did you want to be?
Yeah, I tell my story, and it's definitely the main reason I wanted to be a chiropractor. it'll actually tie into your podcast too with some of my mentors and everything like that. And I'm sure you're going to get to that. But I had really bad low back pain and sleep issues growing up, and definitely issues focusing, right? So I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that nowadays. Let's be real. And I come from a very traditional medical family. My dad's an attorney, and my mom was an ER nurse, and a cardiac ICU and ER nurse and all of that. So very traditional medical, right? You do your yearly checkups at the general practitioner, you get your shots, you take your medication when you're hurting, boom, that's what you do. Well, I tell you what, that was just not working. And I was very young, and I just knew something wasn't right. And so I told my mom, like, hey, I'm not sleeping. I feel like crap. And I was about 13, 14 when it started getting really bad. And I was not sleeping much at night. I was maybe getting 3-4 hours of sleep a night, terrible low back pain. I mean, it just was all out of whack. And so my mom took me to the doctor. And the doctor is like, he's young, he's growing. Nothing's wrong. I don't know why. Do you want me to prescribe medication? And my mom's like, no, like, he's 13. He doesn't need to be taking stuff like that already. Like, I don't want him to do that. Like, I work in the hospital. I've seen stuff. Like, no, like, there's got to be a solution. What's going on? Weren't really able to give me an answer. So just like most situations in the traditional medical field, they refer you to physical therapy, right? Now, physical therapy wasn't bad. I do like physical therapy, and it is very effective. It's very important to find a good physical therapist. But I did that for a few months, and it still didn't really fix my back. It was still there, right? Maybe I got some relief, but something was still not right. So then my mom took me to an ortho. And the ortho took an x-ray, and I remember leaving that office, and he gave me a band to stretch out my hamstrings and said, you have tight hamstrings, you need to stretch them out. I remember doing that for a few days and felt zero relief. And so I remember maybe a week later after that, there was one night where I didn't get any sleep. And then I was like, Mom, like, something is not right. Like, I can't sleep. Like, and I was a kid. I didn't really know what was going on, but I'm like, something's not right. Like, I don't know what's going on. So someone at the hospital that my mom was talking to said, hey, he's got back pain. He's got sleep issues. Why don't you have him go to a chiropractor? And my mom was like, chiropractor? Like, what the heck is that? Like, the bone doctor? Like, that's really going to help? What in the world? And so he was like, the person, her coworker was like, yes, go to this one guy. His name, coincidentally, is also Dr. Nick. That's funny. And pretty small world. And shout out to Dr. Nick right there. He's awesome. And I went to him, took x-rays. He's like, dude, you already got like compressed discs, which is hard to see on an x-ray, but you can see some of the joint space, and he already saw it narrowing. And he's like, you got scoliosis, you got hip imbalances. Like, this is not good. And so my mom's like, okay, well, what do we do? Well, let's get him adjusted. Hop on the table. He starts working on me, right? I remember it being pretty painful, but he's like, look, this is bad. You're inflamed. It's going to hurt. Sorry, bud. Like, just hang in there. It's all for the best. It's going to help you after. So he adjusts me. Guess what happens? I fell asleep on the table, right? Just passed out. And so my mom, as a nurse, is like, what the heck's going on? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, is he okay? And Dr. Nick was like, he's fine. He's finally able to sleep. Like, give him a second. We're going to check up on him. Let's get him some water. 5-10 minutes later, I start waking up, and my mom's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, like I feel okay right now. And then Dr. Nick comes over, and he's like, bring him back tomorrow, take him home, drink some water, just get some rest, and then definitely come back first thing in the morning. So I get in the car, fall asleep in the car. And my mom told me after the fact, and as I got older, she was debating on driving to the hospital or driving home because I wasn't waking up. And I remember getting home, getting to the house, and my mom's like, all right, like, what's going on? Are you okay? Like, you just keep falling asleep. Like, did he trigger like narcolepsy or something? And I'm like, no, Mom, like, I just slept like 45 minutes or whatever that was. I feel pretty good right now. My back doesn't hurt. I'm going to go back to bed. And Mom was like, okay. Went back to bed, probably around like 6 or 7 p.m. I had woke up at like 9 a.m. the next day. I slept like 14 hours. I just passed out and zonked out. And I remember waking up that morning, and I just felt like, after you get a nice massage or you do a little yoga and you just feel so mellow and calm, your brain's moving slow. I was like, oh my gosh, is this how I'm supposed to feel? Because that is different. That doesn't feel normal. Is this normal? It should be normal. I should feel like this. And after that, I came back to Dr. Nick, and I mean, once again, I was still pretty young, but my mom, drove me and everything. And I was like, hey, do that again. Do that again. I need that. Whatever that was you did, that was amazing, right? Are there any risks? There really aren't any risks? Okay, cool. Keep doing that to me. And so then I started getting adjusted consistently. And so that's my story of really how I got into chiropractic. And then going through high school, college, stuff like that. About college time, I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor. But really through high school, people are like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to be an engineer? Do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be a lawyer? And I'm like, well, that chiropractor thing seems pretty cool. And that Dr. Nick guy seemed like he really enjoyed his job. He just helped people. He just, half the time you're just, BSing with patients, really connecting with them, having fun. It's just a fun job where you're helping people and it's different and people don't really know about it and people need it. Like, I was like, there's something here. Plus you can make a good living. Like the list kind of went on and on. And, all politics aside, I had a story that helped me. And I know that there's people out there that need it done. So regardless about making money, being accepted medically the same way an MD does, I didn't really care because I knew it helped me and it helped me for a reason. I'm a firm believer in God and, everything happens for a reason. And I was like, there was something about this. I was designed to fail medically through the traditional medical system and have this happen to me. And I think it's a calling that I need to help other people, right? And so then going through high school, college, I was like, nope, I want to be a chiropractor. Like, this is different. It's unique. I got a story. I know I can tell that story. I know other people are going to be going through that. There's the rise of the opioid crisis and people are upset with ERs and hospitals and bills and just being prescribed muscle relaxers and being told you're fine. And so this way I can actually physically with my hands help people safely, right? Just like anything in the medical field, there's some risks, but for the most part, extremely safe. I pay $67 a month for my malpractice insurance. Go ask a surgeon how much they pay monthly for their malpractice insurance or even an MD, right? It's in the thousands. It's not normally in the hundreds, right? So that's really why I became a chiropractor. And it's just, I have that story. It helped me. It's something I'm passionate about because, I was thinking about, do I just want to be an MD, be accepted and just go down that route and just be another number and just do it because it's more socially acceptable and people just resonate with it already more? No, screw that. Life's too short for that. Who cares what people think? I did care what people think, but I still knew deep down that it wasn't my calling to be an MD or to be a DO or that. And I love a lot of MDs and DOs. Some of them are great. But I just knew that it wasn't going to make me happy. I would do it for a year. Sure, the paycheck would be nicer. Sure, the conversations with patients would be like, oh yeah, it's easy. Let me get my medication and leave, right? I'll do a virtual consult. The road for being a chiropractor and being a chiropractor in general is more difficult because you really have to educate because people maybe don't know about it enough and everyone's got different spines. But I didn't really care. Because I was like, deep down, I knew this was for me. I knew it can help people. And I know people with the rise of technology and the opioid crisis and everything else going on, COVID's another prime example, that people need this. And people need it badly and more than they even know. And even though it's more traditional and maybe isn't as revolutionary as the new Ozempic or drug that came out, it's still our bodies are just that designed that way. And so some things don't change. The way you do things, the way you talk to people, the finances, all that does change, right? And there's new techniques that get developed and there's new shockwave equipment and all that stuff's great. It really is. And I love it and I incorporate it. But there's just something about the traditional aspect that is just what we are as humans and people need that. And so, yeah, that's pretty much why I became a chiropractor. Yeah.
So then James Madison and then life. How was the experiences there?
Good.
All 4.0, no partying. Yeah.
I still was partying. So I turned 21 when I was in, during undergrad. 2017 to 2018 was when I turned 21. So, I still went out. It was right when the Battery first opened in Atlanta. So shout out to anyone in Atlanta because the Braves Stadium had just moved from Turner Field to the Battery. Yep. I love the Braves, even though I'm a Nationals fan at heart because I'm from DC and I root for Tampa teams too. But it was great. It was a lot of fun. I still had a good time, but it was just different. It was a little more level-headed. It was more like, okay, I have a little more fun partying or going out now. I just turned 21, but I know I'm going to be a chiropractor and get my shit together, as opposed to just, oh, let's party and then I'll figure it out down the road and this and that, worry-free. And I'm naturally a worry-free kind of guy. Anyone watching this that knows me, I'm pretty chill. I like to hang out. I like to have a good time. I'm kind of just mellow to begin with, even though I have a wild side. Who doesn't, especially when you're around people that you know. But you got to have fun. And this is also going to probably tie into your podcast and everything. Dr. Nick, my main mentor, the whole story about why I became a chiropractor, right? One of my great friends, colleagues, mentors, everything. He said something very, very important to me that stuck with me when I did my internship with him in 2020. And he said,
cool. So same guy that, okay.
Yeah, I went and did my residency up in Virginia for 3 months with him. I had to. I mean, he did so much for me. I was like, I'm going to go help you out for free. Please, the least I can do. He's a wonderful guy. And it was great. And, I love learning from him and hanging out with him. But he said one thing to me. He said, look, Nick, you're going to be a successful chiropractor, right? You got the story, you got the personality, whatever, all that. I don't even like talking about myself that much. But he's like, look, make sure you have fun along the way. Because time, you're not going to get that back. Money, you can always get. And it might be beating a dead horse because who hasn't heard that? But when he told it to me, it hit a little different because he had helped me so much throughout my life. I was like, man, he literally said to go out and have fun, even though I want to chase my dreams. So he's like, go out, have fun. Life's short, right? You're in a profession where you're helping people. People need you. But you got to make sure you have fun along the way. Because if you don't have fun along the way, what's the point? Because once again, you could go out, win the lottery, win all the freaking money in the world, or work 800 hours a week and, earn all the money. Is that going to make you happy? Probably not. It might for a little while or to some degree, because money can make life a little easier. We all know that. But I knew that deep down, if I wasn't having fun, if I wasn't hanging out with friends, if I wasn't networking, if I wasn't, going to the gym, doing fun things, then what's the point? Right. And obviously we're here in Florida. Who doesn't like to party here in Florida and stuff like that? So I enjoy doing it. I think it's important. I think it actually helps you be a better businessman as long as you can control it and not get carried away in it. Because some people in Florida, they get carried away with all that stuff and, all the other nonsense. So you can have fun. And I enjoy having fun. And as I've gotten a little older, I've definitely calmed down the past year or two, especially since I've started the concierge business. But I think that's a big aspect, is making sure that you have fun along the way, because I'm a very positive guy. There's a lot of negative things in the world and things you can worry about. I could sit here and list 20 things that would probably make your stomach drop if I said them out loud, of things you should worry about. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be things to worry about. Elon Musk, Mark Cuban, they got plenty of stuff to worry about, even though they got all the money in the world. Doesn't matter how much money you have or how little money you have, there's going to be problems. It's how you view it. It's how you live your life. It's how you respond to it. It's how you perceive it. So I think that's very important.
So from Atlanta at Life and then to Virginia for your residency, then it was straight to Tampa after that? What brought you to Tampa?
So I was dating a girl in chiropractic school, and we dated like 2.5 years, and she wanted to move to St. Pete. She was Portuguese, so there was a little Portuguese community here, and she wanted to move to Florida. I always wanted to move to Florida. I just didn't know where, and I have family in Boca and that side of the coast, but I didn't really have anything set in stone. I didn't even have a job lined up after school because I didn't know what style of chiropractic and where I wanted to practice out of school. So
what year was this?
This was 2020.
So right there.
Yeah, 2021. This was right before I graduated. And so I did my first residency January of 2021 to March of 2021, that 2-3 months in Virginia with Dr. Nick. And then in April, I came down here. I think it was right after the Bucks won the Super Bowl too, and because I missed the parade. And I did my residence here in St. Pete, actually, with Hood Chiropractic. Shout out Dr. Hood and Dr. Brett. They were wonderful guys and great mentors too, helped me out a lot. And so I did my residency for a few months. And during that, I think it was the first week or two, she had dumped my ass. And I was like, oh shit, what do I do now? I'm in a new part of Florida. I don't know anyone down here. I just started a residency. I don't know what job I'm doing. I wanted to be a chiropractor. Do I still want to be a chiropractor? And, breakup wasn't, toxic or anything. I don't like dealing with any toxicity. I like to be civil on good terms and, really try to, do what's best for everyone. And so I decided to move down here. I think she lives in the other coast. I haven't talked to her in years, but, it wasn't bad to where I'm like, I need to get out of St. Pete. I just moved here in a week and I got to get out of here. So I was looking for jobs in St. Pete because I wanted to be close to the beach because I love the beach. Who doesn't? So I would move down here for the weather and the beach and the vibe, and didn't have the best luck. And I started looking in Tampa. I was like, all right, I'm gonna look in West Shore. I'm looking in that area, not be too far from the beach. And I applied for a headhunter position through a headhunter to get the job that I had for 3.5 years at the busy office.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up down here.
So once you got it done here, you only had that one job before you started your.
Yep. I worked one job for 3.5 years, cool, which man. Any other chiropractor knows that's more rare, right? Unless you know that you're going to buy out that practice or, go into some role. It's pretty rare to be at the same office as an associate for over 3 years, your first job out of school.
So what I love about entrepreneurship is there is a time in someone's life, in every entrepreneur's life, where at some point they had to make a decision, that was a risky decision. And I say all the time on the podcast and in life that they're one of the reasons I'm the most successful is I'm not afraid to take risk. It's risky to take a successful. Yeah, it was you're in a building all day, but hey, it was, I'm assuming, steady income and safe.
Yep.
Starting your own concierge chiropractic from that is not a safe move. Right? That's a risky move.
Yep.
But every single successful entrepreneur has at some point in time made a risky move. What did it take inside of you to take that risk?
So deep down, I always knew that the associateship that I had, and I ended up being the clinic director too, was only a short-term position. I knew deep down there's more out there for me. And I know a lot of people listening, if you are listening, you probably know deep down too, there's more out there for you, right? What it took for me, so I always had that underlying my whole life. I just knew that there's more out there for me, and I have to own my own business in some way, shape, or form, because who doesn't crave autonomy? But the breaking point was that the office I was working at was going through a lot of management issues and financial stress. They had a big COVID boom, and the office really boomed. And then the franchise as a whole and the office really started to dwindle. There was a lot of office drama, a lot of toxicity. The vibe wasn't there anymore. And it really took one of my good friends, Dr. Ore, leaving the office to be like, all right, he's leaving the office and a lot of turnover at the office, where it's just going to be me and the boss. And I'm like, I can't work with him one-on-one. I'm like, I'm going to be working way more. So I had asked for more money, not an unreasonable amount, especially because losing a whole doctor's salary, because I was going to be doing more work. And he just looked at me like I was crazy and all this and everything. I was like, okay, well, you know what? This is a calling for me that I absolutely need to get out of here, because there's so much more out for me anyways, that I just knew I had to say, screw it. I don't care if I'm not going to earn income, because it's way better than staying here the rest of my life, because whatever's going on here just ain't working for me, for the office, everything. It's not working. This pattern needs to break. And so I was like, you know what? I was so happy when I gave my notice. I didn't have anything lined up. I didn't know I was going to be a concierge chiropractor, but I knew it was the right decision, because I knew there was something out there for me, and I knew I was going to get my shit together. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have anything lined up, but I knew I needed to get out of that office and figure the freak out. And so that was really the point where I was like, people are like, I had patients ask me, well, what are you going to do after? Where are you going to work? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to figure it out. And so that right there, having patients ask me, was like, and even my old boss was like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really care. I need to get out of here, and I'm going to figure it out. And it's going to happen pretty quickly, because I know I'm capable of it deep down. And so the combination of having that underlying thought that I just knew there was more out there for me, and then I just had to get my shit together and just take a leap. And also the office really, I don't want to say crumbling, but it was kind of crumbling. I mean, it was not the same office I worked at 3 years prior, and for a number of extenuating circumstances. So yeah, that's really what made me just say, screw it. I don't care what's next, but we're going to go to what's next.
Yeah. So then at that point, when we talked about it a little bit at the beginning in the intro, but what was more or less the thought process and, in your head business plan of, hey, concierge might work. What was that like?
So once again, I saw Dr. Sterling on his stuff on social media, and shout out to him if he ever sees this or listens. I tried to meet him for lunch like 3 or 4 years ago, and he seemed like a really good guy. I knew a lot of people knew him, but I was like, this is great. You literally post on social media, go to people's houses. And so I just knew that there was something there. And once again, the overhead aspect of not having an office, and people complaining about, man, I got to make this certain amount just to break even.
You got a car, a table, a cell phone, and insurance.
Yeah,
that's all you got.
Literally, that's all I need, right? And stuff that I've had that chiropractic table since 2017, right? It's gotten its money's worth for sure. So, thought process was really just, I wanted a different avenue. The typical chiropractor works for a few years and then opens up a practice, right? Now, if we look at the United States as a whole and globally as a whole, as the rise of technology, we can all agree that, for example, your office makes sense to have an office. I don't need an office to adjust. And in the state of Florida, there are no specific laws through the Department of Health saying you cannot adjust people outside at a pool. You cannot adjust people at a rooftop or in your apartment. There are no rules because there's plenty of doctors that need to come to someone's house if there's an emergency, right? Which is why they don't have any laws in place. So I'm like, why am I going to pay $10,000 a month for a spot just to put up some decorations and have people drive to me and be less convenient, right? Sure, maybe I can just drive to work, but I'm going to go the extra mile and just drive to people's houses. I don't mind driving and not have to worry about that. So that was really a big factor, was that I just knew that I didn't have as much pressure to make a certain amount and then start having to be salesy and ruin some integrity by just getting more people. Oh, you need to get adjusted. Not because you actually need to get adjusted, but because I got to pay my bills, right? And there's a lot of doctors that are that way. And that is just not a good side that came out of me when I worked full time. And, you know, it was a great experience. I learned how to be a chiropractor, take x-rays, yada, 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 talk to patients. But I knew that it's not good. And everyone knows that when you have to sell to make money, not because the patient or the client actually needs it, it is much different than some client coming to you and saying, I want your product. How much does it cost? Here's my card, right? Because I see the worth. I want it. Boom. And anyone that's in business knows, man, I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that referral and someone coming in and say, man, you know, I want that. Right. And so I wanted that avenue of referrals, people reaching out to me, people that really want it and don't even care about, you know, paying $100 because I'm getting 30 minutes with someone driving to my house that's going to fix my low back pain that I've been doing for 10 years. And I got kids. So I have to take them to daycare. I have to pay them for daycare and I got work. And, you know, I was in a car accident 2 years ago. So my insurance is high. I don't want to go out driving during rush hour. You know, I might not make it. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, the doctor's out this week. You know, I drove all this way, you know, the whole difficulty of convenience and really just value of getting what you're actually paying for. With the concierge model, it's there. And I've had no issues with people say, man, $100 is a lot. And for some people, you know, obviously financial struggles and stuff, but you know, for the most part, people are like, you know, it's a lot, but I need it. And, or like, you know, I'm going to save up a little bit for this because I don't want to deal with sitting in a waiting room for 30 minutes, driving there and then get a crappy adjustment because the doctor wasn't paying attention to me, didn't have his coffee today, and boom, 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 in and out. Okay, I'm still in pain, right? So it's just a completely different avenue of healthcare. And concierge in general, I mean, you can look up some of the stats. I mean, it's expected to double or triple over the next 5 years just with the rise of technology and people working from home.
Yeah. I love the idea. I was talking to you before we hopped on. Even sometimes it is worth me calling my buddies a barber and be like, dude, can you just come to the house? Because like, I mean, same thing. By the time I drive, you know, to the barber shop and sit, you know, 30 minutes to an hour, depending on if they're running behind or whatnot. Like time is everything. Time is money. And so, you know, if I can shave 30 minutes off of something, you know, calculate whatever I make per hour at the end of the year and divide it by, you know, all the weeks and the days and the hours. And it's significantly more than, you know, driving to, you know, the barbershop for 30 minutes. So when you launched in February, you know, even up until now, you've hit pain points, you've hit roadblocks. Like what were some of those pain points and roadblocks? And then how'd you get past them? What's up, you guys? I wanted to introduce to you our done-for-you Airbnb investing service called B&B Turnkey that has massive tax implications. It's basically an investing service that allows you to invest in cash-flowing Airbnbs and not do any of the work. It's best explained in 3 phases. Number 1, we find, analyze, and underwrite the property. In phase 2, we handle all the interior design and construction. And then phase 3, we manage the property on the back end. The best part is most of our clients qualify for the short terminal loophole of the IRS tax code. This allows for average clients to write off over $200,000 in depreciation on their tax bill. For more information, click the link in the description to connect with our team. As always, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the episode.
Well, I think just like any other doctor that works for someone else, you get to a certain point where you're not getting paid what you're worth. That was for sure my biggest roadblock. And then also just me internalizing, knowing there's more out there for me. So those 2 are the biggest roadblocks of, man, I'm working my ass off. I have to wake up and adjust people. Man, I have to work all day. Can it be the weekend already? And everyone gets to that point where it's like, is that really fulfilling? And if you're asking those questions or saying that out loud, you already kind of have the answer that you need to find another job or find a different career path or something different, right? And so that was a big roadblock of me working my ass off and wanting to come home and stare at the wall and melt into the couch, right? Now, after I do adjustment, I'll like hang out. I'll be like chit-chatting with them a little bit after. Some days are busy, obviously, so maybe I have to head out right after. But sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, you got a question about stretch? Oh yeah, let me show you the stretch real quick, because I don't have to run to the next adjustment right away. I can spend a few more minutes. And I enjoy doing that. I noticed when I adjust people outside in the concierge versus in a busy office, I enjoy it so much more, because all that stress is off of, time and all that. But yeah, biggest roadblocks were definitely being burnt out doctor, not being paid my worth, dealing with the business struggles and the owner responsibilities when I wasn't the business owner, right? Basically inheriting that, because if you don't inherit it to a certain degree, you don't have your heart and soul into the practice. But we all know that sounds like a big form of manipulation, which it sure is. That's how business is to a certain degree, right? The person at the top makes the most money and everyone below doesn't make as much, and they normally have to work as hard in some way, shape, or form. It just depends, right? And so that was my biggest thing, was like, man, this my boss is making more money than me. He's not even doing a good job. Like I did think deep down he's a good guy, but he's so muddied and caught up in the wrong stuff that he's lost a lot of his integrity. Mm-hmm. And it was like, wow, this is bringing out a bad side of me. And after seeing that, man, I'm burnt out. I'm not happy. I don't even want to go I want to go on the weekends and just escape reality. That was definitely some of the biggest struggles over the past few years. And don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun. Met a lot of great friends down here and really enjoyed my time, but I knew it wasn't fulfilling. I knew it was like, no, this is not out there in for me. And, even though he wants me to stay and I'm doing a good job, and at the end of the day, it's a financial security, I don't care. I'll go out and freaking do whatever it takes to make, ends means, just so I don't have to be in that situation. And that's just the mindset of entrepreneurial, where it's like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, and it might suck doing it on my own, but I know I got to do it. And there's no other option.
And then from February to March of this year to now, what pain points did you run into having your own business?
Definitely people canceling, people reaching out on social media. I mean, people know on TikTok and Instagram, you're looking at a reel and you're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Oh, let me message him. Boom, 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 boom. And then I message back. Keep in mind, they're messaging me, right? I'm not doing any advertising. I don't really pay a dime for advertising or ads or anything like that. In my old office would spend about $5,000 a month. I was like, yeah, it's pushy. You're the one calling all this. So I'd have people reach out to me. I still do. I mean, it's business. And they're like, yeah, man, I want this. Boom, 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 boom. And then they don't respond, right? That's just how it is. Mm-hmm. And people have sometimes short attention spans. I'm guilty of that too. So I don't take it personally. I don't really reach out much on Instagram. People reach out to me, and I like it that way, because I want you to be like, man, I want to try what Dr. Nick has to offer. I don't want him to message me and, or call me 10 times saying, hey, you need to get adjusted. You need to get adjusted. Do you need to get adjusted? You do. But I don't want to be pushy, because that just is not a good business tactic. I would rather have you come to me. You see the worth. You want to pay that. You have the budget for it, so that everyone's happy, because then I'm happy too. I don't want you to pay $100 when you have $100 in the bank account and then you can't go out and get food, right? Priorities, of course. Even though getting adjusted is so important, you need to eat. You need water, right? So some of the struggles have been that people that have reached out and not actually been interested. People that say, oh yeah, I'm gonna keep doing once a week. I'm keep doing this. Obviously, maybe they weren't satisfied, or maybe I'm not perfect. But I always try to tell people, hey, if you're not happy or you're still hurting, like I will come back and help. Like we'll do another session, even on me, to make sure, because I care more about them seeing the worth and them getting what they're paying for than just the money at that place in time. Because I think I'm a firm believer in karma. I think what comes around goes around. And I know that if I do a good job and I have my integrity and I really help people, that they're going to refer their people, they're going to want it. And that's just such a better way to live life, when people are gravitating towards you, as opposed to you calling them 10 times or reaching out or ad or pushy, or, oh, you need to do this, right? And sometimes I got to put my doctor hat and I'm like, you're damn right you need to do this, because yours mine is trash. But there's other times when it's just, maybe they could get adjusted every other week and be okay. Or maybe once every 3 weeks, right? Depending on what you have going on. And that's something that, in an ideal world, yeah, get adjusted once a week, because who doesn't want a massage, stretch, and adjustment with the stressful world we live in? But you got to be realistic. So that's been some of the big hurdles. Also, another thing is just posting on social media consistently. I did it for a very long time. July, I cut back a little bit, and there's a few other reasons why. And I started streaming and earning some other sources of income on, TikTok and things like that, just to really help me when there's downtime. And, if a patient cancels or this and that, and I'm like, oh, well, today's free. Like, let me find a way to do something. So that's been something. I also do some coverage work for some offices too to earn some income and help out. That's also a pretty good, and normally it's pretty chill too. And I don't have to get caught up in the office drama or this and that. It's like, hey, can you cover this office? Cool. And, I actually enjoy it. So that's been some of the hurdles, is really just building the clientele organically and getting more referrals, as opposed to just, constantly posting, making a viral video and then getting no customers for that. And you may have had a few videos too where, you post it and it gets 100,000 views and you're like, well, I didn't get any clients from that. Sure, I got reach, and sure, people have seen me, and, sure, it'll probably come back around in some shape or form, or, it'll help my growth on Instagram or, TikTok, but I didn't really get any clients. And then on the other hand, I would have some videos that get, 1,000, 1,500 views. And it would be someone that, was like a bodybuilder in the area, or someone else in the area that people know, a realtor. And then people would reach out to me and be like, oh, hey, like I know him, or like I want that done. I'm like, well, this video only got 1,500 views. Mm-hmm. That video got 100,000 views. Should I make videos that are just clickbait for views, or should I make actual good videos? And the answer honestly was both, right? It's honestly both. It's adjust people on the street and, crack them and, and do funny videos like that, you don't see every day. And then also do like actual videos where people know what you do, so that when they reach out, they're not like, what is a chiropractor? What is he doing? Right. And they'll click on one video, maybe a clickbait, or me adjusting on the street. And then they'll see another session where I'm doing a house call and they're adjusting. They see me massaging, right? They see me stretching. They're like, okay, so this is more of maybe what he does. Yeah.
Or the video, the clickbait one with is it a red flag? Did a chiropractor?
Oh, yeah. That one right there. Yeah.
So then the opposite question to that, like what's gone good the past 6 months? What's worked?
Having my schedule to where I can go to the gym in the morning. I can go get stuff done. When I worked full time, I couldn't get anything done. By the end of the day, I wanted to melt. Sometimes I go to the gym after, and then you have that feeling where you just don't feel like doing anything, right? We've all kind of felt that feeling. You just want to melt into the couch. You don't want to talk to anyone. Your brain feels heavy. You feel like you need water, but you're too tired to even go up and get water. And then you just know your body's just not in a good state. So what's been good is that more recently I've been getting more referrals. People that have reached out to me, not even from videos they saw on Instagram, but from someone I've adjusted, and then they refer. So that's been really good, because everyone knows, once again, that referrals are the best. So that's been really good the past month, as I've gotten a decent amount more of that. I've gotten more consistency too. The first few months of me posting on social media, I did adjust a lot of people once and then not again. And so while I am happy they got adjusted once, and I'm sure they felt the relief, and maybe that it's all they need at the time, chiropractic needs some sort of consistency, just like working out or eating healthy. And it also depends on your goals, because to segue a little bit, a very common question I get asked all the time is, oh, once I start getting adjusted, don't I have to do it for life? Same thing applies for brushing your teeth, working out, or eating healthy. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything, right? And I'll be the first one to say, yeah, I mean, I recommend getting adjusted next week or two, but it's up to you at the end of the day. If it's really bad, it might be a little more stern and put my doctor hat on, but the body is just a place where it needs consistency, right? If you want to have clean, healthy teeth, you got to brush your teeth every day. If you want to have a 6-pack, you got to eat healthy and work out to some degree, every day or, frequently throughout the week. So the same applies for chiropractic. So what's been good is that more people have been seeing that. And more people are getting adjusted more frequently, consistently, who really see the value, as opposed to some people that have gotten on Instagram or TikTok and they're like, oh, let me get adjusted. I'm going to start, this. And then it's a quick one and done, or it's just, they didn't necessarily see the value. So that makes me a lot happier when I have some people, and anyone in the healthcare field knows that the good patients make some of the bad patients or mean patients worth it. And so getting more of those has helped. And once again, it's ups and downs. But just, being busier, having more consistency. Another thing too was doing corporate wellness. So run clubs, or even coming to your podcast studio and adjusting the whole team, stuff like that is really freaking cool. Because normally I do corporate rates for offices and stuff like that. That way it's dirt cheap for them. I come to them, they're at work, and sometimes the company pays for it, sometimes people pay for it individually, but it's a discounted rate where I'm already there, and boom, 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 and then you get back to work. You don't have to go out of your way. So talk about convenience. So that's another thing too, is launching the corporate wellness. Yeah. And I got into that gig from a viral video that had absolutely nothing to do with about chiropractic. Absolutely nothing to do. And shout out to Charlie for making the video. It was the passing a phone to Tampa creator. And I got a corporate wellness account from that. And I'm like, what the heck, That's so cool. Anyways, stuff like that's been really helping.
I feel like the past really probably only like 12 to 18 months, there's been more of a, whatever you want to call it, a renaissance in the country of more of this wellness and holistic approach to wellness. And I don't have the medical education that you do, but I more or less agree with the concept of of fixing it, not putting a Band-Aid on it. Right. And so pills just put a Band-Aid on it. But also this side of the world, I think it's interesting to how there's been a lot of viral content and success on social media about, if not maybe limiting alcohol or just completely getting rid of alcohol, which is interesting. What's your viewpoint? You mentioned that a little bit earlier, but your educational expertise on the fact that, pills are just a Band-Aid. It's not going to fix it. And then how does America do better in that aspect where insurance is an absolute disaster, medical bills are an absolute disaster? Like, what's your medical opinion on that?
Yeah. So first things first, the ER, urgent care, and a lot of MDs, their job is to not really address chronic issues. That's not their job. Their job is to make sure that you are not actively dying of cancer or have some, strange abnormality that needs a specific remedy, right? That's more their job, is to make sure that you can walk out of their office and you are not going to just pass out on the side of the road. That's their job. Their job is to not treat chronic, musculoskeletal issues that affect everyone, millions of people a week throughout the United States. So understanding that is really important because, yes, there are some doctors that just do the exact same thing for every patient. If you have low back pain and you go to the ER, they're going to maybe take an x-ray and then send you off with some muscle relaxers and tell you you're fine. So that's why, and really understanding from a, U.S. citizen or, whatever, just your personal, perspective and what you value for health. Because in America, it's a free country, right? You can get treatment wherever you want or wherever you want, regardless of insurance pays for it or not. Now with insurance, the issue is that it's all about money. And for anyone that tells you otherwise, they're a load of crap, right? Insurance is designed for you to pay a monthly premium and then for them not to pay you back, right? Whenever you need it. It's literally inherently designed that way. So understanding that is crucial because when you go to a doctor and he says, what insurance do you have? Oh, we're at a network, we can't help you. Believe it or not, that's a form of malpractice, right? Then they have to at least refer you to someone that does. But it's all about insurance and payments. And I get it, there's financial stress in America. So I understand that insurance plays a massive role. But just because something is covered by insurance doesn't mean that you need that, right? It just means that your policy covers it. You could get a nicer policy and it might cover it, chiropractic care. Right? What didn't mean you didn't need it before, it just means you have a different policy. So, a lot of times people are concerned about what insurance covers, which I get it. Financial stress, you already pay a premium. You want to have coverage in case their emergency happens. But there's other stuff out there. If you're still experiencing the pain, the discomfort, something's not right, then it's human nature to try something else. You're like, this is not working. I need to try something else. And that is very important in the medical field. If you try chiropractic and you get 5 or 10 sessions from me and you don't feel any different, I would not blame you if you did not get adjusted again. I would not, because it's human nature. Whatever I just paid for and just did not help me, right? The issue with insurance is that you don't have to pay for it nearly as much or at all. So you'd end up not really caring if it helps you or not to some degree because it's free. And the doctor and insurance companies are still getting paid on the back end. That's where the issue lies, is that it's, capitalism here in America. So sometimes people and doctors don't necessarily care if you actually are getting better, because sometimes if you don't get better, they can keep writing that script. They can keep getting paid, right? Now, that's not a diss at insurance companies or doctors. That's just how the system works, right? Once again, you want things covered. No one wants to pay. They want free care. I get it. But realistically, if you were to do that your entire life, not pay a dime on healthcare out of pocket, you're probably going to develop some chronic health issues by the time you're 50 or 60, and your quality of life will be diminished. And that's another issue, segueing too, is preventative care, right? Everyone should know that preventing an issue is way easier and way more efficient than dealing with a problem down the road, right? As far as a chronic health issue, right? If you can work out once a week, if I told you to work out once a week for the rest of your life, and that'll prevent you from having a heart attack when you're 50, right? You sure as hell will do that. Now, do we know that for a fact? No, but we know that if you do take care of yourself, you sleep, you work out, you exercise, you eat healthy, you get massages, you drink lots of water, right? You take supplements, right? You go outside, you go for walks, you hang out with friends, you socialize, you have a good network, that you are less likely to develop chronic health issues. And that's the big issue, is that America has never really fully transitioned from a acute, like bacterial antibiotic standpoint of infectious disease to chronic health. And right now they're doing a terrible job of transitioning, because instead of transitioning to preventative, they're still doing, new ways like Ozempic of, well, let's have you lose all this weight and let's make a quick $1 trillion, $2, $3, $4 trillion on it. Which Ozempic is a safer class of drugs, but it still isn't the true premise of health, right? Of what you actually need. It's just also kind of taking a shortcut by, we're just going to cut out your diet. We're going to collect $1,000 a paycheck. And then down the road, if you come off the medication, you're screwed. So you're going to need to be on this medication for the rest of your life. And once again, just like talking about me being locked down to an office and me getting a consistent paycheck, at the end of the day, you got to break free from that, because you don't want to be reliant on either a substance or another person, because when that happens, right, especially as guys too, right, you should be very independent. You should be able to fend for yourself, because that's more just survival, and that will actually help eliminate a lot of anxiety when you get out of that situation, more or less, when you can independently take care of yourself and know that whatever you do, things are going to work out, and that you have what it takes to put food on the table, make some money, be happy, right? When you can physically take care of yourself. And that's the big issue, is that people, and especially, and then one other thing I'll talk about here, and I'll get back to you, is that, you talk about the older generations, they are just ingrained that way, where they grew up going to the doctor once a year. They were told they're fine because they got their lab tests. And then, next thing you know, they develop cancer when they're 50 or 60, right? So obviously something isn't right. Something caused the cancer, something caused the heart disease. Sure, genetics plays a role to some degree. I'm not going to argue that. But it's a nature versus nurture thing, right? If they did something different, they could have had a different outcome, right? And the younger generations, especially here in St. Pete and Tampa, are much more outgoing. They've realized that, hey, maybe I don't want to take medication. Maybe I should go out for a walk. I should hang out with friends. I should get off my phone. I should go work out. I should eat healthy. I should, take care of myself. I'm responsible for my own health. And the younger generations are seeing that a lot more, because they don't want to just, a lot of people, and a lot of my friends, and maybe I'm biased or whatever, are like, well, yeah, I know if I go to a doctor once a year and they tell me I'm fine, I could have some other issue pop up over the year and I'm not fine, or maybe they missed it, right? I have to do a little due diligence and take care of myself to some degree to make sure that, I don't develop chronic health issues. So that's another thing too, is that there is a big trend in the health and fitness that is really gearing away from just take your statin for the rest of your life for 30, 40 years for high blood pressure, right? Maybe if I eat healthy or do something for at least a little bit, it'll lower and I don't need to be on that. And then also everyone knows that when you're on a medication for a while and tends to stop working, they have to switch it up. And then you're wondering if you feel like crap, or you got this side effect and this. And honestly, it's somewhat normalized, especially in older generations. It's something to talk about too. Oh, I got to go to the doctor for this. I got to go to that. Oh, I got this and he's got this and that, And, it's also a way to kind of cope with what you have going on in your life. It's kind of like a mechanism, which I don't want to take anything away from that, because some people do need it, but it's just not a good way to live life. I would rather not have to rely on a drug or a medication and live my own life knowing I'm being okay to some degree, because life obviously happens regardless, than be reliant on that and holy crap, my insurance doesn't expire, or, it's not covered by insurance. man, I'm screwed, or I need this. I have to get it, or it changes your brain chemistry, right? I need this, right? Let's talk about value right there. It's a form of manipulation too. So it is really nice to see that, a lot of people in downtown Tampa and St. Pete are going on their walks. They're going out there having fun, but they're taking care of themselves. They're doing their yoga, their Pilates, they're getting their massages, they're hanging out at the beach. Maybe they are drinking alcohol and doing stuff, but at the end of the day, they are living a lifestyle that is more fulfilling and doesn't involve sitting at home, watching the news all day, taking your medications, going to work all day, and it's a Groundhog Day.
That reminded me of, I don't want to, I forget the exact number because I'll butcher it, but there was significant risk in cancer if you live near three things. It was a 5G tower, a golf course, and a farm. So if you live near one of them, you got it, but then there's some with all three because the chemicals from the golf course and the farm, and I guess the radio, I don't know what 5G towers give off. That's interesting. Let's end with this. I want to be respectful of your time, and then all this conversation has me ready to get adjusted. And I want to have the team get adjusted too.
Of course.
So what is next? What are your dreams and goals with this? Let's call it over the next 12 months. And where do things go from here?
I have a master plan that some people know I'm working on. It's basically a way to eliminate brick and mortar chiropractic. That is the goal, because I don't think it has a value. I don't think chiropractic care, ideally, and it's not perfect. Some people may prefer going and just in an office, fine, right? Not eliminate it completely. But I do think there needs to be a massive transition to home care, just like it was back in the day. So that's something I'm working on. I don't want to reveal too much about it, but you can kind of probably get an idea of what I'm talking about, but a way to really scale that to allow other chiropractors that maybe don't have the confidence or the resources or, the life so far that allows them to be a concierge doc. I want to create that for them to some degree. And I don't want to make it where it's salesy or screw them over, just like, other franchises and stuff ultimately do to some degree. Not everyone, but some do, especially in the chiropractic world. It's about money. And so I want to do that to where they can create, X, Y, and Z chiropractor creates a life where they have that schedule. They don't have to inherit another few $100,000 in debt and then be stuck in an office for 20 or 30 years and just hope to God someone buys out the practice so that they can go finally live the life that they want. I want to be able to change the model a little bit to where people can actually, or chiropractors can actually, have that freedom, have consistency, and allowed to do it on their own terms and their own schedule. So, I'm kind of alluding to, the average viewer might be able to kind of figure out what I'm talking about, but a way to scale that and a way to kind of create a marketplace for chiropractors to just go out and do that and not have to work in a busy office, get burnt out, working for someone they don't like. Because at the end of the day, a lot of chiropractic owners are just designed, and they're designed to manipulate associates into doing all the work for them so they don't have to do less and they take the bigger paycheck, right? Because they've done it before. The owners have done it before. And so now it's like, all right, well, now it's your turn. Oh, well, you don't want to take the risk of opening a practice? Well, you're going to have to work with me for, 3 to 6 months, and, that's going to be an issue. And you're probably not going to work out. So I want to work on that. That's my main end goal over the next year or two. I want to make sure I do it the right way and I'm fully ready for it before just, half-assing it. And then in the meantime, just continue to develop concierge, continue to, I still feel burnt out from my old job in January. I still feel like, man, I'm like exhausted mentally. I'm like scarred from it. I'm like, that was terrible. I can't do that again. That's not a way to practice chiropractic care and live life. That's terrible. So I want to continue to keep developing my own concierge chiropractic. And then eventually down the road, create a company, a marketplace for other chiropractors to be able to do the same thing without it being scammy or screwing them over or some BS, Ponzi scheme, thing like that. I don't want it to be like that at all. And you can't even really do a Ponzi scheme as a doctor because the doctor has a lot of set of laws for kickbacks and things like that. But making sure that it really benefits not just me, but them, because I want everyone to be able to do that, because maybe once again, they don't have the skills or they don't want to do the marketing. Well, let's throw that out the window and then you just go focus on being a chiropractor on your terms. So that's my main goal, is to do that.
That's cool, man. Dude, I love your story. I love an underdog. I love an entrepreneur. I love someone that's just more or less just, all right, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah.
It just takes that leap of faith. So thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for listening to another episode of Successful DNA. Nick, where can they find more about you?
You guys can find me on Instagram, TikTok. My username is dr.nicholasyoung. Dr. Nicholas Young, same Instagram and TikTok handle. I do some streaming on TikTok too. So if you guys like to doom scroll and stuff like that, I do talk about some chiropractic stuff on there and some other nonsense just to have fun. But I do post a lot of videos on Instagram. Feel free to reach out on my Instagram. I also have business cards. I have links in my bio for booking and adjustment and some other information too. So feel free to DM me. I answer all DMs, right? No costs or anything like that. If you even just have a question or you have someone who might be interested in like, hey, this sounds like it would be good for me too. It's dr.nicholasyoung, Dr. Nicholas Young on Instagram. It's my profile pic is me on a wall or something like that. And you'll see a bunch of adjusting videos. So that's where you guys can find me. And then, if you guys want my phone number and stuff too, you can DM me first and then I'll give it to you. And then we can always talk more on the phone if it would be a good fit or what exactly you're looking for, stuff like that. And also one last thing. If you are scared about chiropractic or anything like that, I promise you there's different techniques I can use other than just cracking and popping your neck. There's other stuff out there. I can even just massage it or stretch it. So don't let that scare you away from chiropractic. I promise you it'll be okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, bro.